am working on the archetype of the detective and art. So what I had done here is taken a piece of fabric, and I believe I would have used something like this, which is simply a cardboard stencil, and then I use that as probably a rubbing. I either did it from underneath or I put the paint color on top and then the fabric on top, not exactly sure what. Because the detective follows the breadcrumbs or follows her nose or follows the trail, I am going to create a little bit of a trail. So I'm using some paint. I also know that I want to create a little bit of perspective. So I'm going to add just a teeny weeny bit of this red to get some illusion of distance. This, as you saw, was an acrylic paint. Now in the shadow, the detective solves crimes, but in the light, the detective solves the deep mysteries of the mystic realm. The detective also has a wonderful way of asking questions and then observing how the story is put together. And through the looking at patterns, detective really begins to eliminate the possibilities. And sometimes by eliminating the possibilities, the truth itself is actually revealed. I also think because the detective tells the story and searches out the clues, things come about in layers. Now, what I had done, because I think the detective is very much like a crossword puzzle or jigsaw puzzle, I created with AI this image of a crossword puzzle and a magnifying glass, because the detective looks very keenly at the details and sees things that other people overlook. So I printed this image from AI on a chiffon. This is probably going to show up a little bit better where it's light. And I do like the fact that it's, actually that's not too bad right there. I'm kind of liking that for some reason. But I don't really like these edges being so perfect. And it's, what's interesting is that like is not quite obvious, and I think that's okay. Now that was also backed with this Misty Fuse, so it's going to adhere with iron. But because we're telling a story, I have this wonderful sheet, and this is Stamperia decoupage and carta de riso. And because it's a storytelling archetype, I'm going to use this kind of typewriter image to convey that. And hopefully, yeah, this tears really nicely, because I don't want that clean, neat edge. I want something a little messy and more organic, more rugged. And I want things to be a little bit spaced out. The detective asks the answers, allows the art to reveal itself. So following the intuition, I'm going to iron this stuff down. But then I also want some more puzzle pieces. So these are freezer paper. So now I'm going to trace that. I'm going to use a transparent paint, and this is from Artistic Artifacts. And I'm hoping that it won't show a lot. I do want it to be subtle. Okay, this is an Inktense pencil. I'm going to try outlining it with this. Now I really should be putting this on the design wall and stepping back to be able to observe. These are friction pencils or pens that disappear with friction or ironing. I think it was Edgar Allan Poe who actually began to highlight the detective archetype. But if you love solving problems, if you love chatting and getting details, if you love putting the story together, you might actually have the detective archetype. Let's do step back, put this on the design wall, and take a more distance view of it and see what it has to say. And now here the piece is on the design wall. I'd like to carry over some more of the darkness. So that's interesting. I think I'll end up doing some more painting. Okay, I have it back on the table. And you know, one thing I'm noticing is this sheet again, and I mean, there are parts of this that I really think are interesting. The detective archetype is one who puts the pieces together with deductive thinking, eliminates possibilities, and pays attention to those gut hunches. In the shadow, the detective solves crimes, but in the light, the detective solves the mysteries of the mystical realm. Linking the artist and the detective, consider how the detective observes patterns and follows the trail. The detective sees the small things that others dismiss and allows the artwork to unfold. The detective is a good listener, asking the art where it wants to go, kind of coaxing it to reveal itself. The detective easily applies left brain thinking of if-then, and the detective discerns the truth with a capital T and is also keenly aware of her intuitive sixth sense. Join me for more art and archetype.